Hello everyone, today in this video we will be discussing the second module of computer networks, and in this module what we will be mainly focusing upon is the data transmission and the transport layer. Okay, so these are topics in which we will be discussing the main aspects of each of these topics, so don't worry, their topics are more but I will make it short. Okay, and if you like this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, so let's get started without wasting any more time. And after we get done with the topics, what we'll be doing is we'll be discussing the previous year questions. Okay, so let's get started with the first topic, which is introduction and transport layer services. Okay, what is a transport layer? See, there are many layers from one part to other part. If you want to transfer in data, there are many layers like application layer, network layer, physical layer, and transport layer. Okay, what does transport layer do is it will receive the data from the upper layer and it will transfer to the other device. Okay, so here there are some protocols which you need to follow while transferring the data. That's what we will be looking in this module. Okay, so here what we have is, on the sender side it receives the messages and it converts the messages into segments. Okay, this is very important. Whenever it receives a message, what it will do is it will keep that message in a packet, okay, or a segment, and this packet will be transferred to the other part of the device, and there the packet will be opened and the message will be retrieved. Okay, that's what happens in the senders and the receivers side. Okay, and it uses two protocols, means the rules to transfer the data, which is TCP and UDP. Okay, if you want to transfer any data like sending a message to your friend, you can use UDP. Okay, because it's faster but the data is unreliable, means the data loss can happen in between. Okay, you can't use UDP for transferring the sensitive data like passwords. Okay, means that is important, right? For that you have to use TCP. TCP is reliable but slower. Okay, TCP means transmission control protocol. Okay, now let's discuss about multiplexing and demultiplexing. Suppose that you have multiple links here in which you are receiving the data from, and you have to transfer the data into one link. Okay, so in that case you will use multiplexing. Okay, means from multiple data you are transferring one to the one link. Okay, so that is known as multiplexing. And demultiplexing is the reverse process, in which you will get data from one link and you have to transfer to multiple links. Okay, and since there are multiple packets, we need to have a socket number and an identification number to identify which socket and the port we are sending to. Okay, so for each packet there will be a socket number. Okay, and for each host there will be a port number. Using the socket number and the port number will identify to whom we are going to transfer the data. Okay, see, host and the packet number is nothing but what happens is, this is the device 1 and this is the device 2. Okay, so this will be connected to a server in the remote location and this will be connected to another server. Okay, what happens is, if this wants to transfer some data which is present here to this one in other location of the world, what it will do is it will retrieve this data, and using a port and a segment, what it will do is it will transfer the data. Okay, so by using a socket number and the port number, we will be able to transfer the data to the specific device. Okay, to the specific device. Okay, so port numbers are used to denote the endpoints of the transmission of the data. Okay, so a socket is identified by two tuple in UDP, which is the destination IP address and the destination port number. By using these two, you can identify a specific device. Okay, and second one is in TCP, which is a reliable data transfer. There we have four tuples because it's more secure, right? So here we have a source IP address and port number. Same thing for destination also. Okay, by using these four factors, what will be identifying is the specific device. Okay, coming to web server and TCP. See, we have a server here in which all the clients are connected. Okay, so this uses TCP protocol. Okay, a web server is a host which is running on the port, and by using that it uses the TCP, which is a transmission control protocol, which is reliable. Okay, so in this way the connection is made, and some of the factors are like the server can use either persistent HTTP or non-persistent HTTP. Persistent means once a connection is established, after that it can send as many requests and retrieve the data as it wants, while as non-persistent, after performing one transaction with the web server, it should make the connection again. Okay, so for each data transfer you have to make the connection in non-persistent, whereas in persistent you can do as many transactions as you want within one connection. Okay, coming to UDP. UDP is an unreliable connectionless protocol. It provides two services. Okay, it's not totally unreliable but still less more risky than the TCP. Okay, so here we have the process to process data delivery, means from one device to other device, direct data transfer, like sending your friend a message through WhatsApp, and that comes under UDP because it's faster, but still it's unreliable. Okay, and it has error checking also. Okay, but the thing it lacks is it does not have the flow control, error control and congestion control. This is included in the TCP, okay, because it's reliable. Okay, and it can be used to transfer the data, which is not very important. Okay, but it will be transferred faster. Let's discuss about the UDP segment structure. Listen very carefully, it's asked in exam. Okay, so the structure of the UDP means, suppose that you have a message here, that message will not be transferred as it is to the other device. What it will be what the message will be included in is a packet. Okay, this is the packet, and what all is included in the packet along with the message? Here is the message, and here we have the source port and the destination port, and here we have the length, means the size of the data, and the checksum. Checksum is nothing but a way to verify if the message is having error or not. Okay, how we will do that, we will discuss here. Okay, after this one, how to check if the data is which is transferred, it was the same data, it was the same data as sent by the sender, or some error has happened. How can we check that? We use a technique called checksum. Okay, what does checksum do? Suppose that there are 16-bit words, so multiple words will be sent, like each message will be divided into many words, and those words will be sent. Okay, so instead of 16, I just wrote here 4. So what will be the main thing is, whatever message you have here, that will be in binary form, and we will be adding each of these. Okay, when we add each of these, we will get the answer here as the sum, and what we will be doing is we will be calculating its ones complement. That means wherever you see 1, put there as 0. Okay, and wherever you see 0, put there as 1, and this will be known as the checksum. Okay, it's obvious that when we will add both of these, we will get all the digits as ones. Okay, so how the data will be verified? The checksum and the sum will be sent. Okay, and if the sum does not undergo any error, this will be the same as the sender's side. So here also we will receive 11010, and that will be checked with the checksum, means 00101. This will be added at the receiver's end, and if all the bits are 1, that means it's a means error has not happened here. If suppose that instead of 0 it became 1, so here what we will get 0, right? So this is not all 1. So in that way we can verify if the data sent is the data received is the same as the sender's sent data, or it has changed. Okay, now let's talk about the reliable data transfer. In reliable data transfer, we will have the sender and the receiver, and along with that we will have intermediary. Okay, that means to ensure the correct transmission of data, we will have a reliable data transfer link. Okay, this is known as reliable channel. So in this module there will be many diagrams, so I have not drawn all the diagrams, but I will be giving you a hint how to make the diagrams on your own. Okay, so first thing what you need to know is which is the sender and which is the receiver. Then you need to know about the functions, means sender will send the data and the receiver will receive the data. After that you need to know which all intermediaries are there. In our case only one is there, but in complex structures there will be many channels. Okay, so you need to know about each of the channel, what are its functions. Okay, so how you will make is, first make the sender and the receiver, and in between how many channels are there, make that, and in which all it is connected. Suppose the sender is connected to this one is connected to here, and this one to here, and this one to here. If it's like this, you have to mention here which all function is performed when transmitting data from this end to this end. Okay, so to make this diagram you need to know the functions of each of these intermediaries. So that's what we will be discussing in this module. Okay, so pay attention. Here the main diagram is like this, means this is the minimum diagram. Okay, sender, receiver, intermediary, and the functions like send, receive, and deliver data. Okay, so let's consider a simple case where a sender sends the data and the receiver receives the data. Here we have the sender. Okay, in the sender side we have a sender, and the functions are send the data, make the packet, and send the packet. Okay, these are the three functions. In the receiver side we have the receiver here, which is receiving the data, and data transfer, and the data delivery. Okay, means the extraction of the data from the packet. Also along with that, along with the data transfer, what we have to ensure is the acknowledgement. Okay, means if there is a positive acknowledgement, means the data is received, negative acknowledgement means data is not received. Okay. So in reliable data transfer, if negative acknowledgement is received, that means data is to be retransmitted. Okay. See, whenever you send the data from one part to another part, if the data is not received here, means it's lost here, so it will send an acknowledgement that data is not received, so it will retransmit the data to the other part. Okay. So that is known as reliable. So that is known as retransmission, and ARQ protocols are used. Okay, means automatic repeat request. So in case a data is not transferred, means a data is not received at the receiver's end, the data will be acknowledgement will be sent that send the data again. Okay, so sender will send the data automatically. Okay, so here's the diagram for that. Here you will have the acknowledgement state, and here is the sender state. Okay, here it will send the data, here it will send the acknowledgement. Okay, and the receiver side will also be the same thing with but acknowledgement will not be there. Okay, acknowledgement only applies for the sender, and also sequence numbers are added to ensure the correct transmission of the and the receiving of the data. When we add the sequence number, the whole transmission becomes more reliable. Okay, suppose that there are possibilities of errors happening. What we can do is we can follow some protocols. Like the first one is use alternate bit channels. Suppose that if you send the data from one part to another part, the bit changes from 0 to 1. Okay, then if you send again, it will change from 1 to 0. First 0, then 1, then 0, then 1, and so on. Okay, suppose that the data is lost in between. At that time the bit will not change, right? 0, 1, 0, here it is lost, so it will be 0 only. In this way the sequence is altered and we can identify that the data is lost, and the acknowledgement can be sent and the sender will retransmit the data. Okay, this will increase the reliability of the data. Okay, the second one is go back n protocol. That means suppose that there is a window size here in go back n, that much data can only be transferred. Suppose that 5 packets, okay, 5 packets of data can be transferred from A to B. Suppose that A will transfer 6 packets of data. At that time one data is lost, one packet is lost, right? So what will happen is B will send a go back n protocol. That means how much you resent, how much you sent extra, go back to that point and send whatever was lost. Okay, so A will go back to 5th data packet, from there it will send the 6th data packet. Okay, in this way the reliability can be increased. Okay, so here's a diagram for the go back n protocol, and similarly we have the selective n protocol, selective repeat. Okay, in selective repeat the sequence numbers are used to perform the same operation. The batch of data will be resent whichever was lost. Okay, and there will be a logical timer as well as the acknowledgement. Okay, that will ensure more reliable data transfer. Let's summarize what all we learned till now. Okay, so here we have the mechanism and the use and the comments. Okay, so let's go through it quickly. Here we have the checksum. What does it do? It will check the bit errors in the transmitted packet. Okay, and timer will check for the timeout, means if the data is sent from one part to another part, from A to B, and if the time has exceeded but the B has not received the data. Suppose that it takes usually 1 second to send the data, but 2 seconds have been finished, but the data packet has not been received. That means it has been lost here, right? So it will send the request that to send the data again. For that the timer is used, which is known as logical timer. Okay, the third one is the sequence numbers. It keeps the track of the packets sequence numbers, and the acknowledgement we have already discussed to inform the sender to resend the data. And window and the pipelining will limit the how much data can be transferred at a particular amount of time. Okay, so till now we have discussed the unreliable and the reliable data transfer. We are more interested about the reliable data transfer, so let's explore it further. We have connection oriented transport. Okay, in this we'll be looking at some concepts in detail about the reliable data transfer. So reliable data transfer provides flow control, error control, and congestion control. What do these terms mean? Let's see. Here we have the connection oriented and runs in end systems, point to point protocol, maximum segment size. So these features ensure that the data is transferred reliably. So how exactly that the data transmission happens? Firstly, the stream of data is read into a packet, then it is transferred to the network, and the receiver buffer reads the stream of data. Okay, so directly the data is not read, it's first stored in the buffer, then the buffer will read the data and transfer the important information and send to the device. Okay, and this is the TCP segment structure. Here also we have the source port and the destination port, and along with that, since it's a reliable data transfer, we have a few more attributes like sequence number, acknowledgement number, header length, and checksum, and the segment data pointer, and here we have the data which is transferred. Let's discuss about the telnet. Okay, telnet means a remote login. Suppose that you are sitting in part A of the world and you want to access your computer which is in part B of the world. How you can do? By telnet you can remote login to your computer. Okay, for that also some protocols are followed. So the protocols are divided into three parts: first segment, second segment, and third segment. So what happens is, in the first segment, the client to server, the request is sent that I want to access the data by using an acknowledgement sequence number and the letters. Okay, so after that, if the server accepts your request, it will send the acknowledgement that it has accepted the request. Okay, and after that it will send you the message or the data which you are accessing. Okay, suppose that you want to open your computer and put an application, MS Office. Okay, so what happens is, you will request the server that open this application and send me and show me the data which is present in that computer. So server will accept the request and then it will show the data in your system. Okay, so this is also known as three-step handshake property. Okay, so first the client to server will be the request will be made, then the server will send the acknowledgement to the client, and finally it will send the data to the client. Okay, and coming to round trip time, that means if you have sent the data and received the acknowledgement, if that time exceeds, that means some problem has happened in the middle. So that will be identified by a logical timer. Okay, that is known as round trip time estimation and timeout. In case the data is not received, what will happen is the acknowledgement will be resent to resend the data from host B. Okay, sending and receiving of data is not one step process. Okay, there are many steps in it. Like from A, it will be sent to some other host here, that will send to the that will send to another host, and that will send to B. Okay, which is the final destination. So control of this is very important. Okay, because if you have no control over it, data could be lost or read by someone else. Okay, so for ensuring that, what we will use is, we will use some variables. What are that variables? Maximum send buffer and receive buffer, last byte sent and acknowledgement received, and the last byte received and acknowledged. Okay, so by using these variables, we will ensure that the data is transferred in the intermediaries in a reliable manner. Okay, and suppose that you have a bucket here. Okay, so bucket example is a good one to understand what is congestion. Suppose that you are pouring water from here. Okay, so and this bucket is connected to another bucket here. Okay, so what happens is, you are pouring the water at 1 liter per second. Okay, 1 liter per minute, and what is the rate at which this bucket is transferring the water is half liter per minute. Okay, half liter per minute it's getting transferred from here. After a point of time, what will happen is, the bucket will start to overflow from here, and then the data will be lost. To avoid that, what we can do is, we can either reduce this speed to the from 1 liter to half liter, or else what we can do is we can use the buckets, or we can use the jugs to store the water here. Okay, which is getting lost, and then after some point of time, when the data is transferred completely, we can use this water to store in the destination bucket. Okay, that's the same thing about the congestion control. That means if there is a data which is exceeded the window size, it will be lost. Okay, to control that, we are using the protocols of congestion control, and the more number of buffers are there, the better the congestion control. So this is the flow of control. Like first the packets come, then fill in the link. If it exceeds, they fill in the buffer, and then the acknowledgement, retransmission, and the loss of packet and the timeout are handled. And the more number of buffers are there, they are more better handled. Okay, here we have the host A, and here we have the host B. Okay, so first the data is sent in the link. If it exceeds, it will be stored in the buffer, which will then be transferred to the other part of the link. Okay, so these are some of the things which we can use to optimize the congestion control. Like the data packets are stored in windows, segment windows, and the feedback is taken, and two types of transmission, which are asynchronous and the available bit rate. These two services can help in the better transmission of the data, and between the host and the receiver, there can be many switches which help in the feedback and the transmission of the data to one part of the network to the other part. Okay, and how exactly the TCP has implemented the congestion control. So sender's data transmission can be increased or decreased, and it keeps track of the additional variables called the congestion window, and the window size is increased or decreased based on the pending packets, based on the pending data packets. Okay, and 3 protocols are followed. The first one is slow start. That means it will send one data packet per second, then it will slowly increase to 2, then 4, then 8, like that it will increase. Okay. And faster recovery is the second one, which means that once the data is exceeded the limit, at that time the window size is shrink to half. Okay, so that only a small amount of data can be transferred in the next iteration. Okay. Fairness, which means each of the link which is connected with the protocol will be getting the equal share of the bandwidth. Okay. So this is basically what is in the module 2. Let's go through the previous questions. Most of the topics are already discussed. Let's go through each one by one. So the important ones are like UDP segment structure, like that structure, right? Here we have the source and the destination's sender address, and here we have the checksum, and here we have the message. That diagram, make it and explain it. Okay. And the next one is the FSM's diagram of sender and receiver, which is that graph which we had drawn, right? And the functions of each of the sender and the receiver, that one we have to draw. Okay, it's a very important one. And explain selective repeat, which is ARQ, and explain the TCP segment structure. Like UDP we had structure, right? Like that in TCP also one structure was there. You have to explain that. Okay. And three-way handshake property. If you listen the whole if you listen all the topics, you would have come across the three-way handshake in the middle of the video, where I had discussed between the client and the server 3 times the transmission happens. So that is nothing but the three-way handshake property. Okay. About that you have to explain. And few topics like the definitions of multiplexing, demultiplexing, TCP and UDP, and GoPAK-N protocol, congestion control, flow control, and these are the topics which are not repeated much, but are still comparatively important than other topics. Okay, like how exactly the connection is established and terminated in TCP. Okay, so before going for the exam, make sure you solve each of these questions. So this is all basically what is in the module 2, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.